holiday, like a holiday. It's not really a holiday, Halloween. You know, the banks are open, you have to go to school, stuff like that. It's a popular festival, whatever however that's defined. A popular festival in which the principal thing is that you send your kids out to accept candy from strangers. Even though you tell them, like, that's the thing that's supposed to do, you know? We always thought it would be a great idea if we set aside one day a year, that, like, you know how you tell your kids, hopefully, to not accept rides from strangers in their cars? There should be a day in which kids go out, and strangers go out driving around, and they just pick up your kids and, like, take them places. You know? Just one day a year. What could go wrong? You know? Sorry, Mr. Fenster, your son is dead. But I don't understand. It was drink cleaning fluids, then, wasn't it?
But they don't put poison, you know. They don't. Did it?
Poison kids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope not. You want to say, remember when you set the camera on Terror Vision, whatever that, I think we have it, but whatever that is, and break out the Bobby Pickett records, because I'll tell you my Mr. Rafayama story. It's pretty scary. Yep, that's it.
That's it.
Bobby Pickett. Monster Mash. This is all we had before Thriller. In fact, this is the reason I wanted to have kids, so that, like, I could say to them, you know, when I was your age, we didn't have Rob Zombie or Michael Jackson. We had Bobby Pickett's Monster Mash, and we were grateful to have it.
Mr. Rafayama.
Mr. Rafayama. Mr. Rafayama. This is Halloween, mid-1970s. Suburban New Jersey. You've seen where we live, you know, like typical suburban subdivision. We lived in a cul-de-sac, you know, about 11 houses, all virtually the same. Different houses and things, different colors maybe, you know, but basically the same. The way they handled Halloween was there was a block association, residents association, and every year, the adults of each house would take turns driving the kids around to the other houses, to the streets in the subdivision, which is like basically the limit of our trick-or-treating jurisdiction, you know? So one year it comes down, my mom tells me that it's the turn of the Rafayamas to drive us around, you know? The Rafayamas were an older couple on the street, didn't have kids, bitter, grumpy, grouchy kind of people, you know, they were virtually never out of their house. If you were playing or something, they would like, get off the lawn, you know, like, if a Scrooge kind of people, if a frisbee or a ball or something went into their yard, they wouldn't give it back to you, you know. But my mom tells me that in any case they're in the block association, and it's their turn to like drive us around to the other streets in the subdivision. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want Mr. Rafayama to drive us around. Can't you drive us around? Yeah. And I was like, no, Mr. Rafayama will drive you around. There's no problem. You know?
How old were you?
How old was I? I was the age kids are. I don't know what that means. You know, like South Park. How old are the kids in South Park?
8, 9.
8 or 9. You know, that's the age kids are. You know, and. So it's established Mr. Rafayama is going to drive us around. Halloween day, we get home from school. Still daylight out, so like the really little kids are already out trick-or-treating, you know? We all go home, get our costumes on, you know? And we come out, and the gang starts to get together, you know? It must have been like, it was obviously me, my best friend Pete, his younger brothers, Beverly and Donna Rasmussen. The Rasmussens. Potentially some other kids that like they didn't live on the street long enough to really stick in my memory, you know, but like there might have been some other kids involved, like to some extent, you know.
What did you wear?
What did I wear?
What were you wearing?
I was dressed as a, I believe I was dressed as a tramp, a bum, a homeless person.
Yeah.
You know, like,
wow.
like you can't do it now. It's politically incorrect, you know, unless of course you're actually homeless, then you can.
Confusing for
the homeless people, it's the only day they can live without stigma, you know? I had like an old suit with with colorful patches and things on it. You know, my mom, this is true, my mom had sewn Boo Bum across the back of the suit, you know, the old suit. But the best costumes were the cheapo costumes, the rayon costumes that you got at the supermarket. With these baggy, kind of rayon, cheapo things that didn't really look like the thing you were trying to be. I'll explain. Like, you would have like a Frankenstein mask with a rubber band with the eyes cut out, which is okay. But like on the body part, on the flammable pajama kind of part, what you would have would be like a picture of Frankenstein's face grimacing, you know, and the word Frankenstein in like scary letters, you know, like across the front, which Frankenstein didn't actually wear.
He didn't like to.
He didn't actually wear that. He did not actually wear that. Well, maybe because he didn't want to scare people, but I think he would have scared a lot of people in Victorian London at the turn of the 19th century. Like a monster, like with a picture of himself and like his name across the front, you know? So we were all there. Collection of like tramps, fairy princesses, pirates, vampires. Pete went as a skeleton, you know?
Oh.
So we trick-or-treat around our own street, you know? That trick-or-treat, thank you Mrs. Mendelbaum, yeah? When we're done our street, we go over to the Rafayama house, where Mr. Rafayama is waiting in his car, you know? Bitter old guy, you know? Get in the car, you know? We get in, he takes us over to the next street, and we begin this process of, you know, trick-or-treating up one side of each street, and then like coming back down the other side. And it was just a fairly normal, you know, Halloween type thing, you know, like you'd have people doing the pro forma thing, you know, like trick or treat, and they would give you like the miniature versions of famous candy bars, you know, miniature Snickers, miniature Three Musketeers. Then you would have people who would have like jack-o'-lanterns or like, you know, cutouts of black cats and witches in their windows. Then every once in a while, if you were lucky, there would be a house of like really together people, like a house in complete darkness, with like eerie music and ghost noises coming out of the upstairs window, you know, through the stereo. You go to the porch, knock on the door, and the door would open with like kind of an exaggerated like creaking noise, you know. And they would open the door, they would answer the door with like a chainsaw. You know, like an axe or something, you know what I mean? Like really together, you know?
Yeah.
And or maybe like a real coffin in the living room surrounded with candles,
really?
You know?
Oh my god.
It was always the best candy from those places, you know, they were really together, you know? So, we would go to all the places, then we go back to the car where Mr. Rafayama was waiting for us to take us over to the following street. And he was always waiting sitting in the car, you know? And like, some parents, usually, would like walk around like chatting with other adults in the neighborhood. How you know, like how about them Phillies? You know, like a nice costume. Of course, some adults even wore costumes for Halloween. You know, when they went around with their kids. But Mr. Rafayama was just sitting in the car, hands on the steering wheel. You know, and we would come down. We would get in the car, go over to the next street, and the candy was really piling up that year. You know, we had like you would have either like, I had a burlap sack maybe, or you would have maybe a pillowcase for collecting the candy, or a more like store-bought kind of paper bag with a cutout of a black cat or a witch. And of course there was the standardized like plastic hollow jack-o'-lantern with a strap, you know, for putting candy in, you know. A lot of candy that year.